The one portion of this that I'm thinking could be difficult, though, besides the grant of rights, is that just looking at not about anybody looking to leave the ACC, but right now keeping the conversation toward a different distribution model would be, how do most things get passed in a conference? Well, they get voted on by each individual school. So I don't know that these individual schools would be voting in that direction, obviously, if you're Syracuse, Georgia Tech on down the line, to give away money.
I mean, yeah, there's that, but there's just so much more to it. And again, I was listening to Bud's podcast and he was talking about, you have to have more than half, I think, if you talk about like teams leaving and redoing the distribution, and everything. Because you're like, hey, if I'm Boston College, shout out to Blake James, because he's AD there now, and I think that it's much more his lane than a program with actual championship desires with any of their programs other than hockey, because we don't even have scholarship hockey like Boston College does. But if you're Boston College and you're like, cool, let those teams leave, because we still get all that money. And so, because if they leave, and again, hypothetically, Carolina, Florida State, Miami, and Clemson, they leave to whatever conference, debate amongst yourselves, and the ACC still holds their grant of rights, that means the ACC gets all that money. So look, gas me up, fill my pockets now, because I know at the next contract, I'm not getting this kind of money, right? So that 401k, that Fidelity and account that I got investment account, the under the mattress, wherever we put it, bring it and pack it all in, because it ain't never gonna be like this again, And there's so many factors, and yeah, I mean that's a real good point of like, why would they do that? And look, it's maybe a ways out, obviously, but it's getting to an existential crisis for some of those smaller teams, because if you play hardball now and the landscape of college football changes further, which it could, and now you don't even have the coattails of Clemson, Florida State, Miami, and Carolina to ride in the next contract, and now NC State and Louisville and Wake Forest are the driving factor in that media deal. Listen, it might be a little bit, like I will, Ronnie Lott, cut off the tip of that finger so I can go back in the game. I'll be okay without the tip of that finger, but I want to continue. And that's the trade I want. So if that's what I got to do, rather than that's not necessarily the best comparison. The other one would be like, yo, you got the sugars, you got diabetes, take the foot so I can live, right? That's the kind of thing like, hey, look, they got prosthetics, everything, I will be okay. I would rather go without that factor, which matters, right? You know what I mean? But I would rather take that alteration than death, and yeah, there's just so many moving parts with it, but it's going to be really interesting to see, especially with the ACC, where things go, especially with the top teams just being the valuation being so disproportionate, and the money in the other conferences also, escalating at such an increasing rate that keeping a set compensation at of a percentage of a deal that is fractional to what it could and should be and will remain for another 13 years, it's really forcing action, so I forget which law of motion that is, but it's one of those, like there's no more inertia, like things got to move. And Florida State's AD was the first person to start pushing on that, but we'll see how that continues. But this is not the last time that we're going to talk about this at all.
No, it won't. And I will only provide one other point, and that would be, if the distribution model does not change for what is currently brought in by this conference, by the current TV deal, the only other option I would think would be for the likes of Miami, Florida State, Clemson, whomever, to push for So starting in 2024, we've got an expanded playoff, and the amount of regular season money versus the playoff money is not going to be anywhere close to the disproportionate model of the NCAA basketball tournament, where they're basically playing in March, and that's everything. It's a huge chunk of money, but the playoff pool for college football with 12 teams is going to be sizable in terms of the money brought in. There could be a power play there to say, hey, whomever makes the playoffs, I don't think that they could push for taking all the money, but hey, we're going to have 2 to 3 teams from each conference make this. So if it's a Clemson, Florida State, or Clemson, Florida State, Miami playoff year, we take the money, or we take 80 or 90% of the money, and then the conference gets to distribute the rest of it.
But again, that's going to be up to a vote of the membership. And why would they vote for that and not vote for a straight unequal thing? Because hey, again, that money goes towards their athletic department. So why would I vote against my own interest? You know what I mean? Again, right. Unless it's to set up, the situation is be like, hey, this is a concession I'm willing to make so that we can continue along this path and not, again, have those top teams leave, because they can eventually, and they will be wanted. You know what I mean? They will be coveted. So don't get it twisted on that. National brands of the ilk, and Miami, Clemson, Florida State, Carolina, bro, yes, those are institutions that will be coveted for a variety of reasons. And again, if you are one of the lower teams on that rank, you want them around. And even if you're Duke, even if you have a 9-win season, even if you're Carolina State, even if you are, Boston College, like I said, they've had some 8-9-win seasons. You know what I mean? Georgia Tech, hell, they went to Orange Bowl, at the 10-win season when Paul Johnson was there with that false starting left guard on that goddamn triple option, and everything. But that's going to be your payoff. That's going to be it, because those teams don't really, realistically, have national championship capabilities. They don't. So you're going to want those years that you can get, a leg up on any or all of those 4. And if they make it to a playoff, that's found money. You know what I mean? But look, they're going to have to live with it. So, would they rather be 5th, 6th, 8th in the ACC pecking order and continue along that path with the top, cream of the crop money earning teams still here? Or are they trying to be the big dog? Are they trying to be the apex predator in that conference? And you'll find out really quickly. And I get, every school has fans. Every school has alumni. Every school has people who travel to homecoming. They watch the games. All those kind of things. I get it. I've said it for years. I forget who I first heard it from, but it's so damn true. All of these sporting events are television shows. And these television partners, these media partners, they do this in terms of numbers and without the emotion that a lot of people, myself included, have towards their favorite school and alma mater. And it will become readily apparent. And I already gave you the number where even, a middling Carolina, a middling Miami football is at a 4 to 5x valuation in terms of what Duke basketball is to a media partner, right? When you realize that, that's going to humble you. And you see those numbers, and it should, because if they're left as the big dog, if those top 4 teams leave, and then you're saying, cool, the number 1 media property that we have is Duke basketball in the entire Atlantic Coast Conference, how are they different from the MAC? How are they different from the Mountain West? They're not. And that's the thing that's going to have to be in part of the consideration, because they can play the hard line. They can say, no, we're not. Nope. We all signed this together. Miami, Clemson, Florida State, and Carolina, they can be mad, but we are not giving up a single cent. We are not budging a single inch. This is our line in the stand. Be mad about it. Okay, cool. Fine. That's your right, providence, and choice. But consequences and repercussions will follow down the line in terms of compensation, trust, and believe that, if that's how things go. So there's a lot going on, but like I said, the Florida State athletic director, that, and that definitely leaked intentionally. You know what I mean? It's definitely one of those things like, hey, I'm thinking about hiring Bob Brown, for this job. And everybody's like, whoa, we're talking about Bob Brown. It's just like, well, maybe we were, but we let that slip a little bit and see what the feedback is going to be. That definitely got out there intentionally. Like, let y'all know. And again, with the history of conflict between the ACC conference office and the Florida State Athletic Department, he was fed the fuck up. He said, cool, so I'm going to start things moving. And it might take a decade. Might take, I don't know when we're going to get to wherever, but step one is today. I hate to say it, but I kind of respect it.